Avowed is pretty self-explanatory when it comes to the usual video game mechanics, but there are some exceptions, especially when you're starting out. For those of you who are liable to hoard items or brute force your way through overpowered enemies, these beginner mistakes to avoid in Avowed are absolutely for you. I'm going to hold your hand while I say this. Give it here, come on. I truly do not blame those of you who are stuck in commitment phobia and consequently get heart palpitations whenever you come close to letting go of unique gear. Unique gear encompasses weapons and armour that have their own names, as opposed to having weapons and armour that are just called things like short sword or metal bracers. Our minds tell us that if a weapon or a bit of armour has a special name, then it must be special, which must mean that it's useful later on in the game, which must mean that I shouldn't throw it away, which must mean that surely the numbers are lying to me and it's actually really good and I haven't realised it yet. Stop. Don't hoard unique weapons and armour. There are an abundance of them in Avowed. Like, so many. Unique items are a great source of Ardra, which you get if you break them down into components. These components, especially Ardra, are essential for upgrading the equipment you actually use. So take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let go of that specially named item. I'm gonna let go of your hand now. Don't be stingy when it comes to picking up food or potions or resources because you're worried about being over-encumbered. Only weapons and body armour have carry weight in Avowed. This is fabulous, as it means you can have as many potions and food as you want, and aren't being bogged down by each potion weighing 0.5 weight, and finding yourself almost over-encumbered by your tendency to hoard potions. Go ahead and pick up all your trinkets, just keep an eye on your gear. Drop bits off in the party stash if it's getting too heavy, but you don't have the brain power to decide what should be sold and what should be broken down into components. Rotten food is grim, but even grim has a purpose in Avowed. Scooping it up means you can then use it to create booze, and then booze can be used to create grenades, and then grenades can be used to turn enemies into flesh confetti. You can cook rotten food. Paradoxically though, don't eat it, as doing so will give you food poisoning. Instead, bring those soggy lumps of organic matter to camp and use them when you're cooking in the cauldron to create booze and bombs. There's a Jaeger bomb joke to be made here. Find it yourself. Don't forget to camp. Camping, like in Baldur's Gate 3, is crucial to bonding with your companions and progressing the story. While camps might look at first like a fast travel destination, they're a lot more than that. It's here that you'll access the cauldron, stashes, upgrade bench, and outfit choices for your companions. You have to sleep in camps once you fast travel to them, but that's nothing to be scared of, my little insomniac. Don't put your godlike through a sleep detox, I beg of you. Also, a neat thing is that when you fast travel to a camp and stay the night, you can return to the previous location you were at before you fast travelled. So you don't actually have to exit your camp and find yourself at the location where the camp is found on the map. I truly, deeply understand if you have residual irritation from overly chatty video game companions. Not you, Elizabeth. Never you. The same goes for companions in Avowed, as their callouts in battle are very useful, and you should always heed them. Your party members will often call out where enemies are shooting from, or where they're closing in on you, during frantic battles to keep you aware of things you can't see. They'll also tell you when your armour isn't strong enough to withstand enemy attacks, alerting you to the fact that you might have accidentally 1v1'd a 3-skull enemy. Which leads me to... There are games in which you can confidently brute force your way through enemies that rational thought and self-preservation would balk at. Avowed is not one of them. Gear rarity matters. You have common items, which can be upgraded to fine, which can be upgraded to exceptional, which can be upgraded to superb. As a rule, you automatically do less damage to enemies if your weapons are a rarity rank below their armour. You can tell if this is the case because enemies will have either 1, 2, or 3 skulls before their name, depending on how many tiers they are above you. Secondly, you also take more damage if your armour is a lower rank than an enemy's weapon. Basically, no amount of damage or armour will stand much of a chance against a foe with superb gear if you only have fine gear. and the same goes for weapons. So it's very, very important to upgrade your armor and weapon as soon as you can, because otherwise it's like using a pea shooter against a cliff face. Either that or do the pro gamer tactic of sprinting past enemies that are too strong for you to deal with, but you really want to get to the new area of the map and you're going to ignore all the signposts the game is showing you. Not that I'd know anything about that. This isn't really a mistake to avoid, but it's something that needs to be explained. I'm talking about this little apple symbol that'll appear beside your health and essence bars after you eat food. Yes, it denotes the amount of regeneration left and will disappear once the food has regenerated the max amount, but if you regen the full amount of essence and health but have regen remaining from the food source, this apple icon will stick around. The next time you take damage or use spells, the food will regenerate the lost amount, but this residual regen will expire eventually if it's not used. My short-tempered wizard picked a lot of unnecessary fights to test that hypothesis and turn it into scientific theory, so please make sure her many sacrifices are not in vain. Don't ignore the skill trees of the classes you're not pursuing. Even if you're a wizard like me, grabbing some skills from the ranger skill tree is a must, especially if you want to be a sneaky spellcaster. For example, one of the ranger's abilities allows you to turn invisible at the cost of your essence gradually dropping, which you can combo with your godlike stabber power to take out enemies without any conveniently placed long grass to hide in. I call this special the one-hit wonder because as soon as you hit, the invisibility dissipates. It's the closest I can get to being a stealth archer without actually using a bow. Thinking about it, the ranger skill tree has a lot of skills and passives that maximize your survival skills and foraging abilities, making them useful for pretty much any player. Finally, don't do what I have a tendency to do and avoid the main quest if you want companions other than a fighter and a ranger. The main quest isn't particularly hard, but you will be faced with enemies who are higher tiers than you, so bear that in mind. The main quest, should you follow it up to the point where you unlock a new region, will direct you to a new companion, aside from the fighter and ranger who you'll collect fairly early on. For example, I'm playing a wizard, so I need companions who are going to stay up front and eat a lot of damage for me, so getting the third companion, a cleric, was essential for me. Side quests will provide you with the gold and resources to rank up your gear and weapons, but will mean you're stuck with incompatible companions, so pick your poison, really. There we go. Those are 9 beginner's mistakes you should absolutely avoid in Avowed. Are you enjoying playing it? Kind of reminds me of old school RPGs, and I'm really enjoying it. I like turning my brain off and strolling through Emerald Stair and appreciating their unique take on necromancy. Makes me feel like I found my people. Anyway, if this video told you something useful, feel free to chuck it a like, pity there's no tolerate button, and feel free to subscribe to Eurogamer for more videos about, you guessed it, video games. Now, I'm going to go and continue to resist the siren call of the influencer accent that is brain rotting me, so I'll see you folks next time.